What is going on, Solo fam? My name is John Solo, and welcome to another Star Wars theory. It's been way too long since I've said that. Solo, a Star Wars story, was released on May 25th, and like everyone else, I was expecting it to add a lot to the new canon. What I wasn't expecting was it changing the old canon. I am, of course, referring to the scene in Episode 4 where Han shoots Greedo in the Mos Eisley Cantina. I know the subject has been talked about endlessly in the Star Wars community, but there's new information we gotta take into account. For those who are less familiar with the Star Wars universe, let me give you a quick rundown of one of the most debated issues in the history of the saga. When Episode 4 came out in 1977, there was a scene where the Rodian bounty hunter Greedo ambushes Han Solo, who had a bounty placed on him by Jabba the Hutt. After a short conversation where Greedo tries to extort Han, bring him back to Jabba, and then threatens to kill him, Han pulls out his blaster and shoots Greedo from under the table. Most of the Star Wars fans out there thought this was pretty badass. Han's life was in danger, so he killed Greedo before the Rodian had a chance to kill him, and he did it casually.
Sorry about the mess.
This was the official story for 20 years until the 1997 special edition re-release of the original trilogy. After seeing how popular that scene was with fans, George Lucas had second thoughts about Han shooting first and the negative implications it had on his character. Whether we like it or not, Lucas has said on multiple occasions that from the very beginning, Star Wars was at least in part meant for children. And as the scene became more iconic, he grew uncomfortable with one of the saga's biggest heroes murdering someone before he was provoked. As a result, the scene was changed in the re-release so that Greedo shot at Han, and Han retaliated by shooting him from under the table. A big part of the community hated this change and campaigned for the scene to be restored to its original version. Lucasfilm responded by continuing to make small edits, and today the time between shots is almost imperceptible. Even still, their official stance remains that Greedo shot first. I've always disagreed with this in my own headcanon, and in 2017, Disney rewarded my stubbornness when they released a book called Star Wars from a certain point of view. It tells the story of A New Hope through the perspective of background and side characters, and there's actually 4 chapters that touch on the Han and Greedo interaction. All of them, including Greedo's very own chapter, say that only a single shot was fired, insinuating that Han indeed shot first. Also, we learn the reason that Greedo had it out for Han, because a female named Unselta chose Han over Greedo, and then Han skipped town and broke her heart. So at that point, there was some conflicting information regarding that situation. George Lucas, the man who created this universe, insists that Greedo shot first, but the new owners of the franchise are doing everything they can to imply the opposite is true outside of straight up remastering Episode 4 and changing it. And I really mean doing everything they can. In the final scenes of their latest project Solo, Han has a similar interaction with Tobias Beckett. What makes the scene so special is that Tobias is telling Han he has one last lesson to teach him while discreetly reaching for his blaster. The audience can easily infer the lesson was to shoot first, but apparently Han already knew that because he cut Tobias off mid-sentence with a shot to the chest. By the time Han runs into Greedo years later, he's had plenty of experience in these kinds of situations. The guy smuggles illegal cargo across the galaxy, for crying out loud, and that type of career attracts the shadiest of people. Given what we know about Han now, it just wouldn't make sense for him to let Greedo get the drop on him. Everything we've gone over so far is enough for me to justify my headcanon and not feel like I'm lying to myself. At the very least, I think that Disney's leaving it vague on purpose so fans can think whatever they want. But other fans might not be as convinced yet, so I have one last point I want to touch on. In a recent interview with StarWars.com, Lawrence Kasdan and his son Jonathan talk about the Solo anthology film and what it was like writing the script. If you're unfamiliar with the Kasdans, Lawrence co-wrote The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and The Force Awakens, and Jonathan is an accomplished writer as well. Because the duo was responsible for writing Solo, including the Tobias scene, naturally the first question StarWars.com had to ask was, did Han shoot first? And I'll admit, I was surprised by their honest answers. Lawrence said, of course, it's so clear to me that Han shot first, and the only way you could interpret it differently is if you go back to the revised movie. In the original movie, it's very clear. Jonathan added, and in the true galaxy, I think there is no doubt that he shot first. Lawrence went on to say, that is very important to us and has been important since the get-go, that Han shot first. It's no disrespect to anybody, but I'm working from the movie that made me fall in love with Star Wars, which is the original release of A New Hope. So there you have it from the mouths of the Kasdans, the ones partly responsible for why we love Star Wars so much. Now, this news doesn't actually mean that Han's shooting first is confirmed. I don't think the Kasdans have the authority to do that in an interview, but here's what it does mean. One of the people responsible for writing Han Solo's story in episodes 5 through 7 was writing it for the version who shot first. Combine that with his origin story, which shows that he knows to shoot first and was written by the same guy. At this point, it's hard to know who gets the final say of what's official and what's not. But the fact that that scene made it in Solo means that Disney and Lucasfilm had to approve the idea, meaning they must be okay with their lead writers writing a story for the version of Han who shot first and the implications it has on the cantina scene. Pretty much all that's left is for someone like Kathleen Kennedy to come out and say it. Or if they wanted to surprise us, just release a new version of the movie on Blu-ray without the change. And while you're at it, Blu-ray Despecialized Edition box set. Everybody wants it and you'd make a fortune, and we all know that's what this is really all about. So just do it, Disney. Now I want to know, what do you guys think about Han shooting first? Did this video convince you? Do you even care about the issue? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you have any recommendations for future videos, leave those too. If you want to support the channel and what I do here, make sure to hit that like button so we can reach our goal of 3,000 likes, and subscribe with notifications on for new Star Wars content every week. And follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for updates on Star Wars and Disney news and what I'm up to between videos. Until next time, Solo fam, my name is John Solo, and remember, John shot first. And so did Han.